Hello and welcome to the Fastmarkets Middle East Iron and Steel event, and welcome to our live lounge. I'm Georgia Tolley, and joining me today is Ramy Salah. He is Chief Business Development, Sustainability, Marketing and Export Officer at Elmarakby Steel, and it's a great pleasure to have him join us. Now, let me tell you a bit about Ramy. He has 20 years of experience across multinational and international firms in the steel and construction industries. He's really been a pivotal figure in driving Elmarakby Steel's ambitious growth strategy since joining in 2016. His expertise spans technical and commercial areas, sustainability and global trade. Ramy, thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to have you with us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure for sure.
It's good to have you here because, first of all, I want to talk a little bit there about your career journey. I listed your job title then. It feels like you're in charge of pretty much everything. But what actually led you to join Elmarakby Steel?
Yeah, actually, I'm always striving for a space. So, and for having like clear growth objectives. To having like a global mindset, like-minded, which I really found in the family. So Elmarakby Steel is like a family business, and I'm really, lucky to have my boss, Engineer Hassan Elmarakby, my CEO. He is really like, a very prominent leader, and he worked a lot on growing the business. So that was the moment when I decided to join, because actually I quitted, like ArcelorMittal, which used to be at that time number one globally as steel producer. Today they are number two, followed a tycoon from China. So it was really interesting opportunity, and as I said, because I found the space and I found the opportunity to grow and to do a lot of things in this fantastic growth journey. So that was let's say the main drivers.
I'm really interested that you left ArcelorMittal, because that must have been quite a bold move. One of the, well, at the time, the biggest company in the world.
Yeah.
Did your friends and family question your decision?
Yeah, I mean, you are right. Also, not only, family, your network, your friends, etc. But still, I thought that I'm doing, something right, which proved to be, because I'm there now for 8 years. Thanks God, touch wood. And this is, I would say, the longest stay across my career. So soon, by 1st of December, I will be celebrating the 8th, anniversary with Elmarakby Steel. So I'm still thinking that I did the right decision at that time.
Well, I have to say, it clearly was the right decision, because Elmarakby has seen extensive growth over the last sort of few years, really significant growth. What have been the sort of key achievements and milestones over the last few years from your point of view?
Yeah, I do believe we worked on a lot of things, So we worked on capacity expansion, increasing our capacity for production. We worked also on product diversification, diversifying markets. We have already been lucky to choose from beginning also a very right route in production, matching the decarbonization, matching, producing with lowest carbon emission. So today we are ahead of the curve because we are producing out of scrap. So when you look back, when the family started to invest in the melt shop, they really choose the right thing, because this is helping you a lot today. I mean, you are in a competitive advantage. You can see things like the CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism in EU, or later that will be soon following in UK. You are today seeing these things as an opportunity. While if you would rather choose another, let's say technology or production route, you might be today in different shape. So working on that, diversifying everything, like increasing the production, having product diversification, producing wire rod along with the rebars. The wire rod goes also not only for construction, but for other engineering end uses. Diversifying your markets, either inside Egypt or globally. We are exporting to 36 markets. And you diversified also your markets inside Egypt, because you're having different segmentation in the market. So you are addressing these different segmentations, and you are trying to offer tailored solutions to each segment, and sometimes to every single customer. So, and on top of things, also developing people, creating jobs, retaining people, inspiring people, motivating people. This is very, very important in our industry. Our industry is not as having big margins as other industries. We are not like the telecom. We are not like the real estate. We are not like the FMCG. We are not like PNG. We are not like Henkel. So the margins are not that big. So still there is a big challenge to really, retain people, to convince people at the early beginning and to retain people. Industry is stable, it's such a big industry, but still we have to work a lot to retain our people. So that also, I would say, one of the very big achievements we have done, during the past decade.
You have a really interesting role because you are knowledgeable about both the technical and the commercial side of the business. I mean, You must be fairly unique in that position. How do you see these two aspects working together to drive growth?
Yeah, lucky am I, I think so, because you are absolutely right, blessed with having this unique blend. You really understand how it feels in the plant, you really understand about the supply chain, you understand about the production routes. That makes things easier for sure. Because you were there, you were in the plant, you were in different roles from the entry levels as, like entry engineer in the quality control and also in the melt shop, and then moving forward to the export sales, within one of my employers before as a steel, and then also worked for a while in a construction company, EPC contractor in the purchasing side. And then, back to ArcelorMittal with the sales and marketing, taking care of Egypt, importing a lot of materials before settling down in Elmarakby Steel. So this unique blend obviously helped you to understand issues and then to address issues in a more, let's say, proper way. Because, having this blend can help you easily come up with some ideas that can help. It's not that we are having too many ideas, in this, let's say, classical industry, but still, as long as you cannot feel helpless and you can do some sort of, changes, improvements, little bit of improvement every day will count up, to a great improvement, let's say, by year end or by a period end.
Obviously, you mentioned earlier in our interview your experience with ArcelorMittal, but you've also worked with E13 Steel.
Yes.
How has that international experience shaped your approach to managing exports and your international business dealings?
Yeah, that's really amazing. I would just share with you something a little bit maybe funny, interesting, And this is I'm quoting my boss because he has seen the movie before me. And then I later have have seen the movie on one of my flights. I'll tell you this quotes from the founder, this fantastic movie for McDonald's. If you recall, I don't know if you have
I haven't seen it. No, the next time.
Just amazing. You maybe you need to fly Egypt Air because it was there in the flight on board, so you can. So the guy, the story about McDonald's. There were two brothers. They invented the first, restaurant, and then another guy came for them, and he started to convince them with the franchise idea. So when things went wrong and when they stuck together, this guy told them typically that he is national and they are local. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And therefore national was superior to local.
100%, because he was traveling all across the States.
Yeah.
And then he grasped a lot of different experiences and diversified ones. I'm still quoting my boss, my brilliant CEO, Mr. Hassan Elmarakby, because he told me this quote, and I was, this is like a fantastic quote. And then later on, when I have seen the movie, I realized it's just really, really very amazing, because you see that, now we can say that at that time it was like 78 years ago, but today we can say you can compare the international mindset with the national mindset.
Yes.
So I think that this tells it all. We just also want to add some fun to our steel industry. So, I mean, you understand what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. You are having different perspectives. You have seen this, you have seen that. Then you can adapt different solutions, and then you can come up with some brilliant ideas. That can really help you to improve, to grow, and to address the challenges with your stakeholders, let's say.
I really love how you framed that, and I'm definitely going to have to watch that movie. I can't believe I haven't seen it yet. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that international perspective, because geopolitical tensions, global supply chain challenges have been really hot topics at the conference. At the moment, they're really hot topics.
Right,
We've got a new president over in the United States,
right.
and that is changing people's perspectives. How are these factors impacting trade flows and your business ultimately?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, you see the geopolitical tensions around the corner of the Red Sea impacted Egypt a lot. We had a big drop in the Suez Canal revenues. I mean, thankfully we were just reaching the $10 billion all of a sudden for the Suez Canal after the expansion happened a few years ago. But then again, we are dropping back. Maybe we are losing 50-60% of it. So this is a very big hit to us in Egypt. True, we are having some economic reform, has taken place earlier this year in March with the IMF, with a stimuli package from some loans from the IMF, World Bank, European Union, and other institutions. But still, we are not a country that we can afford to lose like $5 billion. We have improved, this foreign currency exchange, system, and now the worker remittances are coming back to Egypt through the official banks channels. But still losing this $5 billion hurt. You are having some impacts also on the supply chain, some delays from the raw materials and production inputs coming from the Far East. You are suffering from that. You are having some delays. Sometimes you are having some risks. Also, the potential, trade war between, U.S. and China is another risk as well, because Trump was saying before being elected that he is going to lift the tariffs on China to 60%, and China already is suffering locally, like most of the globe. So I mean, God knows what could happen if he really lifts the tariffs to 60% level. How could be China reaction? And problem is that also things are stabilizing themselves. So it's not like if he is closing the door, still these exports will be moving around. So the challenge is that maybe some countries that they are not putting barriers, still they might be impacted the most.
Yeah.
Because China needs to go around it, because actually I wouldn't say China is the main problem, because the issue with that is with the demand.
Yes.
The demand globally, not only even in the steel, in many other stuff, even the GDP growth rate on average globally is not doing well. China impact is intensifying the problem. But in my opinion, basically, no one can go with 10% GDP growth rate every year. I mean, no one can do that. And we should earlier expect that China might be passing through certain recession for a while. And developed countries also. Those are my personal opinions. Let's say it's not my, it shouldn't be, my company opinion also, but my personal humble opinion. Already developed countries, made China wallet factory. We cannot come today and complain. We should collaborate. Simply, we should find something else to address the issues. But fighting towards each other's, closing all the doors. We cannot all of a sudden, turn the world around from the globalization and from the collaboration and from which country to produce only what they are competitive in, and then we are having smooth flow of trade, and then all of a sudden we would like to turn the world around to make, deglobalization, and we adopt the policy of closed doors, etc. So it's really tough.
Yeah, I mean that is a very good summary of what we could be facing in those circumstances if America decides to close its doors and then everyone else follows suit. I was really interested to hear there about the loss of that $5 billion for the Egyptian economy and how big an impact that must have. Now, you've represented the Egyptian steel industry on both the local and the global stages there, just like McDonald's, but not at all. What are the unique strengths that you would argue the Egyptian steel industry has? And do you think you're able to weather the potential storm should it come?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Thank you for that. So I think Egyptian industry is blessed with really many competitive advantages. So first of all, the industry is modern. Technology is modern. We are adapting. Most of the production of the crude steel production is coming either from the DRI, electric arc furnace routes, or scrap-based routes, which they are both by far better than in the carbon emission, as we touched based earlier in our interesting live lounge. So the DRI mills have they are having on average like 1.3 ton of CO2 per ton of steel, and the scrap based is having like 0.7. The blast furnace basic oxygen furnace, they are having 2.3 ton of CO2 per ton of steel. So this is one of the advantage. As I said, because the technology is modern, so we are having like efficient industry. We are having good yields rates, I would say, good technology experts. We are also blessed with our location. We are having also still, I would say, like decent prices for electricity for industry. We are having a potential threat that the prices could go up, but at least let's touch wood, still even with recent increases, still more or less looks fine. Natural gas might be a little bit challenging in terms of prices because we are not as low as the other competitors around in the region. So people in Algeria or in the Gulf, they are having much more less prices for the natural gas, but capitalizing on what I said on the other competitive advantages, Egypt also in the past couple of years ramped up the exports of long products a lot. So Egypt normally is well known as flat exporter, very well known, but in the past couple of years Egypt also became very well known as long exporter for rebars and wire rods, and the figures for the exports for rebars and wire rod increased to 1.5 million ton. So we moved from 0.5 million ton, half a million ton, to 1 million to 1.5 million ton. It's just amazing. And the countries we are exporting to are approaching 80 countries. I mean, the entire country. So we unleashed some capabilities. A problem is that this also, triggered some, trade remedy measures that triggered the quotas in the European Union, some measures in Canada. Already there is 25% tariff, by Mr. Trump from 2018 March. So, things might be, becoming also challenging. But still, once you are there, you are there. Because, you unleashed your capabilities, you reach it there, so you will find your way. Might not be so easy, but still you will find your way. So I see great potential really for the steel industry in Egypt.
You have a really upbeat sort of approach to it. Despite the challenges, we can overcome them, and that's a very encouraging vibe to have. I imagine you'll value partnerships. I imagine you'll value collaborations. You mentioned before the importance of working together globally. Not just companies, but globally.
Right.
How do you ensure? Well, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because you want to collaborate, but you still need to have the competitive edge.
Right.
How do you balance that within your company?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. But okay, I mean, you can collaborate for the broad issues,
yes,
which are obviously important for everyone. So, for example, I can give you an example for this collaboration. We have been, engaged with the World Trade Organization and the World Steel Association and the other steel players in what's so-called the steel standard principles. This is sort of initiatives for collaboration. We are hearing a lot about many frameworks or standards to measure your sustainability indicators, your carbon emissions, etc. Which is, this approach is really hectic to mills, because if you really want people to move forward, to do some improvement, you should make their life easier, not tougher. So we engaged with the World Trade Organization, World Steel Association in last COP. Not this one, not the recent one of Azerbaijan, the one in UAE. We were active member going to the COP. This year we were not able to make it because of our tight schedule, but we were there in Dubai and before that in Sharm el-Sheikh. So we collaborated with other stakeholders and with other producers to try to address this challenge of having too many frameworks and too many standards for measuring GHG emissions, CO2 emissions, etc. And even if it's a long journey, but this is a sign of how you can collaborate. There are some issues you can address. For sure, there are other issues you cannot address because we all respect and follow the anti-competition laws, anti-monopoly laws, etc. So we do have much respect for that. But there are some other broader issues wherein you can really address and collaborate.
It's such a tightrope, isn't it? That's so interesting. I hadn't thought of the anti-competitive laws as well that have to feed into this conversation. Okay, so I've got two more questions for you.
Sure.
One of them involves sort of common myths around the steel industry. If there was one myth that you could scotch in this interview, what would it be?
Actually, we are having a big challenge with the overcapacity.
Overcapacity?
Yeah, the overcapacity.
Oh,
The overcapacity is really, killing the margin and killing everyone. Because, there is a big overcapacity in the production side. The raw materials prices are not matching with the finished steel product prices. And then this is, really is squeezing the margins and putting, the producers under huge pressure. And problem is that this is combined with the demand. So you see that the global GDP growth rate is expected to grow by around 3% more or less yearly, while the demand this year will be declining by 1%. So there is, I would combine the two issues.
Yes.
So you asked one, but I'll combine both. So the demand, I'm afraid that the fundamentals for demand are being changing. So I don't think that people are still using the same steel that they used to. Because today everyone is trying to make lighter steel, lighter in weight, etc. And also the habits of people. So not everyone now is willing to have a car. Not everyone now is willing to have an apartment or a house or a villa or whatever. And the new generation also, we need to understand their wants and then their needs, because this will shape their spending. So if they are going to spend on something different, so people in my industry or any other industry, this is like a general invitation for everyone to really understand the new generations, how they are thinking, where they are going to spend, what would be their lifestyle. Because otherwise you might end up with a big catastrophe. You think that like 20, 30 years ago that the steel will always growing, let's say with the population, or will be always growing with the GDP growth. So okay, if this is not the case, what will happen? So I'm not saying at all that the steel will be zero consumption. Not at all, okay? But still.
But that's really interesting, this idea that maybe we won't need as many houses and cars in the future. There won't be as much construction or manufacturing, and as a consequence, you won't need as much steel.
Yeah. This is the thing. And also, as long as we were improving also the quality that much, which is needed, by the way. We have to save lives of people. So maybe also the bridges, the places can live longer life. So you need more time to replace, etc. So these things you need to really consider.
Yeah.
Because with this thing on the demand and with the other thing on the overcapacity, they are both combining, are really impacting the steel industry, and they are really squeezing the margins. So this is one big thing combined together that we are always in a need to address it, to need it. The green transition is rather an opportunity. Rather an opportunity because it will generate some, let's say, some developments.
Yes.
But still we need to be cautious about the demand drivers, where we are heading, and the overcapacity issue.
That's very interesting. I've done a lot of interviews here at the Live Lounge. I haven't heard about overcapacity yet. So that's really fascinating. Okay, so my last question, and it's the one I've been asking everybody here in the Live Lounge, because this conference theme is Transform Tomorrow Together.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, and how do you see it as a phrase shaping your industry or impacting your industry?
Yeah. I think I would reiterate the collaboration, concept. When people are speaking to each other and when people are realizing the challenges and the opportunities, this would be, the start of a proper transformation for tomorrow. Because issues and challenges would be always there if you are having a state of denial, if you are denying the challenges. You cannot say that the sun is not rising while, it is there in the middle of the sky. So, there are challenges and there are opportunities. what I like now about the steel industry and what also the conference is helping on that, the networking, the discussion around, etc., that most people are realizing how the challenges are. They are becoming more mature, they are becoming more wise, and this is the beginning for a proper path. It might need time, no doubt on that, but I'm really optimistic today because maybe in the past few years I would see some views that, but that they were like superficial, or like, okay, there is no problem, it's a cycle, we will be, etc., blah, blah, blah. But today, no, people are realizing how the challenges are, where the opportunities will be, and then I think it will take some time to adapt, but then we would be on the right track.
A very positive note to end on. Thank you very much indeed, Ramy. We've really enjoyed your insights, so thank you very much.
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
yes.
you for the questions.
I mean, it really has been a fascinating discussion, and whether you're listening now in our live lounge or later on at home, remember we have done a whole podcast series, so please do subscribe and check out the other episodes on all of your podcast providers, whether that's YouTube, Amazon, Apple, or of course Podbean as well. And if you want to find out more about events like this, please head to the commodities space on our website, fastmarkets.com.